Far beyond the bright stars of Earth, the Siora Sea world lay under a pale blue sun. Its seas glowed with silver light, and its skies shimmered with gentle waves of color. The Siora Sea people lived for many cycles on their water world. They built cities of glass and coral beneath the waves. They soared in fragile ships above the clouds. They mastered knowledge of the sea and stars. Yet now they faced a terrible enemy. In the heart of the capital city of Lumina, a great beacon pulsed with urgency. The beacon cut through the fog of space and sent a direct call to humanity. It was the first message from the Siora Sea in generations. No one on Earth had seen them since the Great Treaty of Light Mills. Few believed the Siora Sea might need help. On Earth, Admiral John Carter sat at his desk in the command tower of the United Planetary Fleet. He was a tall man with silver hair and calm eyes. He had served in many missions to distant stars. Beside his desk sat a small hollow projection of the Earth. Red and blue dots moved around it, marking ships and space stations. John Carter listened. To the message, the words echoed in his mind. We are dying. A hunger worm spreads beneath our seas. It comes without warning. It devours all it touches. The coral cities fall. Our children drown in darkness. Please help us. He felt a deep ache in his chest. He had heard of the hunger worm in old records. It was a creature of legend, a monstrous beast that lived in the deep and ate everything in its path. It was a foe no one could fight alone. John tapped a button on his console. A scientist joined him on the projection screen. Alice Munro was a gentle woman with kind eyes and a soft voice. She studied alien life forms at the Interplanetary Research Council. Alice, he said, prepare a full report on the hunger worm. I want to know what we face. She nodded and turned to her team. Far away in a silver dome on the surface of Siora Sea, Queen Selena watched the beacon lights flicker. She ruled her people with grace and wisdom. Her skin glowed pale cyan in the coral glow. Her hair floated like water behind her. She felt hope and fear in equal measure. Hope that the fleet might arrive in time, fear that they might not. The hunger worm moved fast. It split into smaller worms and consumed miles of coral in hours. In a small glass chamber below the queen's throne, a young Siora Sea scientist named Leora worked at a holotable. She traced the path of the hunger worm through currents and tides. She adjusted the model to show how it might spread. Your Majesty, Leora said softly, the worm will reach the city of Coralin in 3 cycles. After that, it will be at our capital in 6. We have little time. She looked at Queen Selena with sad eyes. Selena nodded and rose from her chair. Send the beacon now, she ordered. Let Earth hear our cry. She raised her voice and sang the ancient song of pleading. The song echoed across the waves and into the sky. It joined the beacon in its urgent call. In the human world, the message arrived at the interstellar listening post on Antarctica. The post was a ring of tall towers that captured signals from the stars. Officers stood at consoles, scanning faint transmissions. Lieutenant David Lee was on duty that shift. He wore a dark green uniform with the fleet patch on his shoulder. He listened to the message and his heart raced. He had studied alien languages in the academy, but he never heard a plea like this. He tapped his headset. Send this to Admiral Carter and Dr. Munro, immediate priority. The other officers raised their eyebrows. Nothing got priority over routine patrols. But David would not risk losing this plea. Back in the command tower, John Carter and Alice Munro watched as the holo-display filled with images of Siora Sea. They saw the glass domes beneath the waves, the shining spires in the city, the broken coral in the darkness. Dallas spoke first. We see the worm's path. It moves like a river of death. No weapon I know can stop it directly. We must think differently. John nodded. We will need our best ships and mines. Prepare the fleet assembly? Send word to the Planetary Council. We have to act fast. He paused and looked at the projection of the worm. If we fail, an entire civilization will vanish. At the council hall in orbit around Earth, representatives from many worlds prepared for a debate. The hall was a grand cylinder with windows that showed the stars beyond. Flags of many planets hung along the walls. Eric Holt, a young diplomat from Earth, took to the stage. He was earnest and determined. He spoke without fear. We have a chance to save an entire race. We cannot ignore their plea. Humanity was once in darkness, too. We survived because others reached out to help us. Now it is our turn. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall, but not all agreed. A delegate from a mining colony on Centauri shook his head. This will cost us resources we do not have. Our people struggle with hunger and disease. Why should we help outsiders first? He asked. Lavara Diaz, an elder council member from Mars Station Alpha, rose to answer. She spoke with quiet strength. We help because it is right. Our history is full of hardship. We know what it means to face extinction. If we turn away now, we betray our own past. Her words carried weight. Several representatives nodded. The votes were cast. The chamber fell silent as the results appeared. In favor of sending the fleet, the majority. The motion passed. Earth and its allies would launch the rescue mission. On Sciorra C, Queen Selena heard the joy of her people. Bells rang in the glass towers. Chants of hope rose above the waves. Leora wept tears of relief. In his quarters, John Carter breathed deeply. He felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. He whispered a promise to the silent stars. We will not fail. The council hall hung in silent space. Thousands of seats circled a wide chamber, but only a few were filled. Floating windows showed the blue-green planet below. Outside, stars burned in endless night. Eric Holt stood near the center of the hall. He felt his heart pound in his chest. He was young for a diplomat, but he believed in doing what was right. Eric raised his voice. It echoed against the curved walls. He spoke of compassion and duty. We are the galaxy's guardians. We protect the weak as we once wished someone would protect us. If we ignore the plea of Sciorra C, we stain our honor and betray our past. His words carried across the room. Some delegates sat forward, their eyes filled with hope. Lavra Diaz rose next. She was older and calm. Her voice never shook. She painted a picture of Earth's own history. She spoke of the great plagues and wars long ago. She spoke of neighbors who suffered in silence until others reached out. She reminded everyone that no one stands alone in the dark. Across the hall, a delegate from the mining colony on Centauri shook his head. His voice was rough like gravel. We live on a world of hard stone. We mine and trade to feed our people. We struggle every day. You ask us to send ships and resources across light years. Why should we risk that? Our children go hungry now. He stamped his foot for emphasis. Eric's single quotes, shoulders slumped. He understood the miner's pain. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. When he spoke again, his tone softened. I know your struggles. I feel them too. But if we let others perish, our own souls grow darker. We all came from worlds that once cried for help. How many past generations died alone because we turned away? How many lives might we have saved? A murmur spread. The miner's anger cooled. He looked at the floating windows and saw Earth below. He looked at his own reflection in the glass. Doubt flickered in his eyes. From the back of the hall, a delegate from the water world of Oceania spoke. Her voice was smooth like flowing currents. She spoke of unity among different peoples. She said that helping Sciorra C would bring trust and friendship that could last for ages. She spoke of trade, culture, and shared knowledge. The council listened. Next, the veteran ambassador from the dry desert world of Aridos gave his view. His world had no water to spare. He wore a long robe of dust-colored cloth. He said, We have fought wars over a single barrel of water. We know sacrifice, but we also know honor. A promise made must be kept. If Sciorra C calls for aid, we answer. Voices rose and fell as more delegates took to the stage. Some spoke of politics and power. Some spoke of tech and cost. Papers floated before them showing fuel estimates and ship counts. Xenobiologists warned that the hunger worm could mutate. Military strategists said the mission would need escort ships and ground teams. Alice Monroe stood at the council's human delegation table. She watched the debate with quiet attention. She held a holopad. On it, images of the hunger worms. Path traced across Seorasea's seas. She tapped the pad to highlight how fast the worm moved. 6 miles of coral in a single cycle. 12 miles in 2 cycles. Alice spoke clearly into a microphone. Science tells us this is no myth. The hunger worm is real and it devours everything in its path. If we delay, we lose the chance to save Seorasea. Every cycle counts. This mission is not optional. She paused and met the eyes of each leader. It is our duty. John Carter, seated beside her, leaned forward. He tapped a button and the view changed. Now the council saw the fleet formations ready for departure. They saw the vanguard ships and supply vessels. They saw the crew manifest. He spoke in measured tones. The fleet is prepared. We have the ships, the crew, and the supplies. We only need your authorization. A hush fell over the hall. The final vote would decide the fate of Seorasea. Eric looked at the other human delegates. He saw fatigue in their faces and resolve shining in their eyes. He knew they had done all they could. The council's AI voice rang out. All delegates, cast your votes. Small boxes appeared before each seat. Delegates pressed buttons to choose yes or no. The boxes glowed green or red. Seconds passed like hours. At last, the AI announced the results. The motion passes. By a majority vote, the United Planetary Council approves deployment of the rescue fleet to Seorasea. Cheers rose in the chamber. Some representatives wept. Others hugged. Eric felt tears sting his eyes. Back on Earth's command station, John Carter rose from his seat. He bowed his head for a moment. Then he turned to the assembled officers. Prepare for departure. Inform the crews. We launch in 2 cycles. May fortune favor us. In the quiet of the command deck, Alice Munro stepped beside him. She smiled. Softly, we did it, she said. John placed a hand on her shoulder. We will reach them, I promise. Far above in orbit, the council hall glowed like a star. Below, the rescue fleet filled shipyards, ready to bring hope to a world on the brink of extinction. Far below the stars on Earth's surface, shipyards hummed with activity. Massive dry docks held battleships and transport vessels alike. Sparks flew as welders joined heavy plates. Cranes lifted engines and hull sections. Day and night, workers labored to prepare the fleet. At Dock 5, Captain Peter Grant walked among the ships. He was a tall man with dark hair and kind eyes. He wore a crisp uniform with gold stripes. He paused to watch a team install the final thruster on the flagship, Valiant Dawn. The ship was long and silver, with blue stripes running along its side. Peter spoke to engineer Megan Brooks. She knelt beside a power conduit and checked her wrist display. Her hair was tied back and her face was streaked with oil. She smiled when she saw Peter. We are ready, Captain, Megan said. The drive cores are at full capacity. The shield generators passed the tests. Peter nodded. Good work, Megan. Report to me when the crew is aboard. We leave in 1 cycle. Megan rose and moved on to the next task. Machines clanked and engines roared. She felt proud to be part of this mission. To her, it was more than work. It was hope. Near the dock's entrance, families waited behind barriers. They held signs and banners. Some carried holoframes showing pictures of loved ones. Mothers hugged children while fathers stood tall with sad smiles. They would not be on the mission, but they felt its weight. Among them was Laura Wells. Her husband, Lieutenant Mark Wells, was assigned to Valiant Dawn. Lara held their young son, Jason, who pressed his face against the barrier. Tell Daddy to come back safe, Jason whispered. Lara brushed her hair back. He will, sweetie. He will watch over the Seorasea world like a true protector. Inside the crew quarters of Valiant Dawn, Peter Grant and the officers gathered. The room was small but bright. Bunk beds lined the walls. Lockers held uniforms and gear. Holographic maps floated above a central table. First Officer Rachel Kim tapped a console. She brought up the mission plan. We leave orbit in 3 hours. We will rendezvous with the support ships at Sector Delta. After that, we head for Seorasea, Weapons Officer Eric Ford checked his sidearm. Weapons are loaded and ready. Fighters will escort us once we reach the far jump point. He then glanced at the holomap showing the jump lanes. Dr. Alice Monroe joined them with her report. Medical. Supplies are stocked. I have packed antidotes for common toxins. The crew is briefed on alien biology and language basics. We will be ready to provide aid on arrival. Peter looked at each officer. Thank you all. This mission will test us. We must stand together. Humanity depends on our success, and the Sciorra. SeaWorld depends on our mercy. He paused, letting his words sink in. The crew nodded solemnly. They left the quarters to finish their final preparations. On the station's control deck, Admiral John Carter oversaw the departure. Huge windows showed. Valiant Dawn and its fleet mates lined up like silver arrows. Smaller fighter craft awaited fueling. John tapped a console to open the communication channel. All ships report status, he commanded. One by one, captains and commanders confirmed readiness. All systems green, weapons online. Crew at battle. Stations, said Commander Lisa Perez of Cruiser Bravado. Medical ship Horizon ready? Doctors and supplies loaded, confirmed Chief Medical Officer Grant Peters. With each report, John's confidence grew. He checked his watch. The hour of departure approached. Back at Dock 5, Laura Wells watched a screen showing live images from Valiant Dawn's camera. She saw Mark standing at attention on the deck. He raised his hand in a small salute. Laura waved and mouthed, "Be safe." Tears filled her eyes as the engines powered up with a deep hum. In the hangar bay, fighter pilots climbed into cockpits. They strapped on helmets and checked flight controls. The bay doors opened, revealing the bright sky beyond. Ships lifted. Off in formation, Valiant Dawn's engines flared to life. A low vibration shook the docks. The massive ship rose slowly, then gathered speed. It moved toward the sky like a silver bird. On the control deck, John Carter watched the ascending fleet. He tapped a final command. The ships cleared the atmosphere and entered space lanes. Thrusters glowed softly as they aligned for the jump. Alice Monroe joined him. She offered a small smile. "We are on our way." John nodded, his eyes on the stars. "We will bring hope." He looked at his crew behind him. "Maintain course, engage jump drive in 5 minutes." The crew took their stations. Quiet filled the deck as everyone focused. Straps held them in place. Lights blinked and gauges flickered. Alice checked her instruments. "Readings are stable. Hyperspace route is clear." John gave the order. "Engage." A soft glow enveloped the fleet. The stars stretched into streaks of light. Then silence and stillness, as the fleet slipped into the void between worlds. In the endless darkness, Valiant Dawn and its allies carried humanity's promise. They carried hope for the Sciorra. SeaWorld, they carried the prayers of those they left behind. The journey through space was long and silent. Outside the windows of the fleet, stars glowed like distant fires. Inside, crews rested between their shifts. Most spoke in soft voices, sharing stories of home or hopes for Sciorra C. In the fighter. Support ship Horizon, pilot Natalie King sat in her cockpit. She checked her thrusters and recalibrated her shields. Horizon escorted the convoy, ready to defend against any threat. Natalie remembered her promise to her brother, who stayed behind on Earth. She would come back safely. On Valiant Dawn, Weapons Officer Eric Ford paced the deck plates. He ran his hand over his rifle's smooth metal. He thought of the Sciorra. See people in need. He would not let them down. As the fleet moved deeper into space, they encountered a meteor field. Small rocks drifted through the lanes, glowing with heat. Captain Peter Grant watched the radar. "All ships, brace for impact," he ordered. "Redirect shields, maintain formation." Alarms blared as meteors struck shields with bright flashes. Sparks flew along hulls. Engineer Megan Brooks worked at her station. She adjusted power to the shields and engines. "Shields at 80% on the port side," Megan reported. "Reinforcing now." On Cruiser Bravado, pipes rattled, deck plates shook. A loud clang echoed through the corridors as a stray rock hit. A side thruster. We lost one thruster, reported Lieutenant Dylan Ross. Controls are sluggish. Commander Lisa Perez kept calm. Reroute power to backup systems. Notify engineering. On horizon, pilot Sophia Lim saw sparks on her monitor from a near miss. She fired a burst from her lasers to break a large rock into smaller pieces. The fragments burned in space. Harmless. Once clear of the meteor field, the fleet breathed a collective sigh of relief. Peter Grant addressed his crew. Good work, everyone. Stay alert. This is just the first test. Days passed in routine. Crew slept, trained, and ate in rotating shifts. In the medical ship Solace, Dr. Amanda Park checked patients with mild space sickness. Few fell ill, but she reassured them. It's normal for the body to adjust, she said. Rest and drink water. You'll feel better soon. Her kindness eased fears. Near the jump point, navigator Oliver Jones prepared the coordinates. He input the route for the final hyperspace jump. Sensors scanned for solar activity. Without warning, a massive solar flare erupted from a nearby star. Bright plasma lobes shot into space. The flare struck cruiser Valor, which was slightly ahead of the fleet. Alarms sounded loudly. Lights flickered. Communication channels buzzed with static. This is Valor, reported Captain Justin Miller. His voice trembled. We lost power. All systems offline. We are drifting. Admiral John Carter appeared on the main screen. Valor, hold position. We're coming. Horizon, escort them to safety. Ryan Black, a technician officer on Valor, grabbed his toolkit. He and his team raced through dark corridors. Follow me. Ryan called, We'll get to the engine room. The corridor lights blinked on and off. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Ryan found the damage panel near the power conduit. The surge fried the relays, Ryan said. We need to replace them. Amy Lee. His assistant handed him new parts. Ryan worked quickly, his hands steady. Hold the conduit steady, he said to Amy. I'm grounding the surge. Sparks flew as they connected the fresh relays. Lights flickered back to life. Engines hummed. Communication channels cleared. Valor to fleet, Ryan's voice came through. Power restored. Engines online. We're ready to move. Cheers echoed over the cum. Horizon escorted Valor back into formation. The fleet aligned for the jump once more. Captain Peter Grant smiled as he watched the repaired cruiser. He spoke into his mic. Well done, Valor crew. Let's go home to save. Sciorra C. As the fleet engaged the jump drive again, a sense of unity filled every heart. They understood the risks, but held fast to their mission. In the quiet of the void, they traveled closer to their goal. Every mile brought them nearer to a world in peril and a chance to make a difference, and so they journeyed on, bonded by trials and guided by hope. The fleet emerged from hyperspace near Sciorra C. Pale blue light washed the ships as they entered orbit. Below, the ocean world lay wounded. Vast swaths of glowing coral were dark and broken. Rivers of shadow crept across the seas. Outer orbit. Admiral John Carter watched the view. He felt a deep sorrow for the suffering world. He tapped his console and spoke. Prepare for descent. Contact Queen Selena and her council. We will offer aid immediately. He paused. And stand ready for combat. In the flagship's command room, scientist Alice Munro studied holographic images of the hunger worm. It was vast and serpentine with rows of glowing teeth. She noted its patterns. We can use sonic pulses to drive it back for a time, Alice said. But we need to weaken it first. Coral gas extraction might work. She pointed to a plan showing harvest drones. Weapons officer Eric Ford frowned. Drones will need cover. We need fighters and bombardment squads, Alice nodded. I agree. We work together. She touched the holodisplay and data streamed across the table. Meanwhile, on Sciorra C's surface, Queen Selena and scientist Leora waited in a coral command center. The room glowed with bioluminescent plants. Fracture lines from the worm stretched. Across the glass walls, Laura paced the floor. They are here, she whispered. We will help them set up the defenses. Selena placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. We stand together. Humans in Sciorra C. She looked at the stars. May they bring hope where darkness rules? Outside, transport ships lowered fleets of drones and troops. Valiant Dawn and other ships took positions above the broken coral on the surface. Alice Munro led a team of drones into the water, each drone had shield coils and sonic emitters. They flew among the coral, sensing the worms approach. Charles Wheeler, a drone pilot, guided them from the deck. Holding position, he said, ready to emit sonic pulse. Alice tapped her console. Do it on my mark. 3, 2, 1, pulse. A deep sound rolled through the sea. Glowing patterns lit around the drones. Far below, the hunger worm recoiled. Its massive body writhed and retreated. Shards of coral shifted as it paused. It works, Alice cheered. They're slowing down. In orbit, fighters swooped down. Human pilots flew sleek craft. Natalie King led the vanguard. She traced the worms. Glowing path. Target the leading segment, she radioed. Focus all fire? Her lasers lanced through water pressure, striking the worm. The worm shrieked in a sound only sonar could detect. It lashed out, shattering drones and corals. Pieces of glowing reef floated in the water. On Valiant Dawn, Peter Grant watched the battle. He turned to his officers. Ground teams, be ready to move in. We'll push it back further. Medical units stand by for casualties. Dr. Amanda Park and her team loaded stretchers into a submersible. They descended to a coral platform. We have wounded Sciorra Sea soldiers, a medic reported. Spine injuries and deep cuts from coral shards. Amanda worked swiftly, her hands steady. Apply hydrogel and synth stitches. They will live, she spoke to a Sciorra Sea nurse. Keep them hydrated and calm. Below, Queen Selena watched from a submersible balcony. She saw humans and Sciorra Sea fighting side by side. Laura joined her. Look, Your Majesty, they share our burden. They fight for us. Laura's eyes shone. Selena felt pride and relief. May our unity drive the darkness away. She held Laura's hand. Above, the worm retreated toward deeper seas. Human ships formed a barrier. They are pulling back, a pilot said. Trail off at 2 miles, Alice smiled. We did it. We saved the city, she turned to Peter. We need a plan to finish them. Peter nodded. We will use coral gas. It will break their defenses. Then we can push them out of the bay. He tapped his console. On the flagship, an officer connected to deep-sea extractors. Pipes ran to floating tanks. Gas levels rising, the officer reported, ready to release. Alice activated the controls. A pale mist flowed from the tanks into the water. Below, the worm recoiled as the gas ate at its skin. It roared and struck at the tanks. On the command deck, sensors showed the worm's life signs dropping. Prepare final strike, Alice ordered. Target its head segment. Fighter pilots formed a circle and fired. Energy beams cut through the water. The worm's head glowed bright and then dimmed. It collapsed onto the reef. Waves shifted as the Sciorra Sea cheered. In the aftermath, coral began to glow again. Sciorra Sea divers set healing fields. Queen Selena rose from her submersible. She spoke into her come. Humans and Sciorra Sea stand together in triumph. We pledge our alliance forever. Her voice rang with pride. Admiral Carter replied. Humanity stands with you always. He looked at Alice, smiled. We have done what we came to do. She watched the sun rise over the ocean. Human and Sciorra Sea crews gathered on a coral platform. They exchanged nods and bows. Selena stepped forward and spoke. To the humans, thank you, friends. Your mercy and courage saved us. She offered gifts of glowing pearls. Peter Grant accepted with respect. These gifts honor us. We are proud to be your allies. He turned to John Carter on the come. Mission accomplished, Peter said. He looked at the sea. John Carter replied, Return home with our flag held high. He paused. We will remember this day. Humanity sends the fleet. The Sciorra Sea sky glimmered with light as crews from Earth and Sciorra Sea worked side by side. Beneath the waves, coral gardens healed. On the surface, repair ships climbed the waves and rebuilt broken structures on a wide platform above the sea. Admiral John Carter and Queen Selena met face to face. They stood before a crowd of humans and Seora Sea. Flags of both worlds fluttered in the sea breeze. John bowed his head. Your Majesty, it was an honor to serve with your people. We came as strangers, but we leave as friends. His voice was steady and kind. Queen Selena's pale cyan skin glowed in the morning light. She smiled and extended her hand. Admiral Carter, humanity proved its strength and mercy. We welcome you as family. She placed a glowing pearl on his uniform. It pulsed with soft light. Nearby, scientist Alice Munro exchanged data with Leora. They stood by a healing pool where coral fragments grew under human scanners. Alice said, Your growth serum works well with our technology. Soon the reef will be stronger than before. She looked at Leora with respect. Liora nodded. Together we will restore our home. We would not have hope without you. She paused and gestured to the pool. Look, the fragments are already knitting together. In the docks, Captain Peter Grant supervised the loading of supplies. He spoke to engineer Megan Brooks. We have done our part here. Soon we return home. Megan took off her gloves and wiped her hands. I will miss this world, she said. Its beauty and its people touched me. Peter smiled. We all will remember this mission. We saved a civilization. He turned as Lieutenant Eric Ford approached. Sir, fighters report clear skies. Transports are loaded. We are ready for departure, Eric saluted. Peter nodded. Good. Tell the fleet to assemble. He watched the ships gathering on a small hill of coral rubble. Lara Wells reunited with Mark Wells. Their son Jason ran between their legs, laughing. Mark scooped Jason into his arms. Look how tall you've grown. He kissed Lara's cheek. Thank you for waiting, Lara hugged him. I was never far. I watched and prayed for your safe return. She smiled, her eyes bright. In the council chamber under the waves, Queen Selena held a ceremony of thanks. Seora Sea elders spoke of the ancient alliance and sang the song of unity. The melody rose through the water and touched each human ear. Through special headsets, tears fell on human cheeks. They heard the pride and gratitude of a people saved. Then, Queen Selena announced a new pact. Humanity joins the Seora Sea Confederation. Together we face the galaxy's challenges. No voice shall go unheard, no plea left unanswered. Her words echoed in every heart. Admiral Carter nodded. We accept your pact. May our alliance shine across the stars. Outside, the fleet formed in perfect lines. Valiant Dawn, Horizon, Bravado, and the other ships hummed with power. Humans and Seora Sea lined the docks to watch. Peter Grant stood on Valiant Dawn's bridge. He looked down at Seora Sea's blue oceans. He felt pride and sadness. He turned to First Officer Rachel Kim. Set course for Earth, Rachel. Jump in 3 cycles. He paused. We go as heroes of 2 worlds. Rachel smiled and tapped her console. On the command deck, Alice Munro prepared a final message to Earth. She recorded the data on the hunger worm and the healing protocols. She spoke clearly. To the people of Earth, Seora Sea thanks you for your courage and compassion. Their world lives again because you came. This alliance marks a new era of hope for all beings. She ended the recording and sent it to the communication array. In the crowd, Lara Wells hugged Megan Brooks. They shared a moment of friendship formed under fire. Jason tugged Megan's sleeve. Will you come back? He asked. Megan knelt. Maybe one day. For now, I go home to tell everyone about you. She tied a small coral charm on Jason's wrist. The launch countdown began. Voices spoke in unison. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lights flared on each ship. Engines glowed bright. A gentle tremor passed through the docks. Then, one by one, ships lifted off the platform. A chorus of cheers rose as the fleet broke free of the planet's gravity. On the bridge of Valiant Dawn, Peter Grant felt the familiar pulse of the jump drive. Sailors took their stations with practiced calm. Alice Munro joined him at the viewport. She watched the ocean world fade behind them. We did well, she said softly. Peter placed a hand on her shoulder. We saved a world and made true friends. That is the greatest victory. He smiled, his eyes shining. Outside, stars stretched into lines of light as the fleet slipped into hyperspace. Human and Sciorra sea flags flew side by side on each ship. Back on Earth, monitors flickered as the rescue message arrived. People watched in awe as Sciorra sea's restored reefs and celebrating crowds filled their screens. In the council hall, diplomats cheered. They raised glasses in honor of the fleet. Eric Holt stood among them. He raised his voice above the noise. To humanity and Sciorra Sea, may our bond light the path forward. Everyone joined his toast. The clink of glasses rang out like a promise. In the quiet of space, the fleet traveled home. Each soul carried memories of a world saved and friendships made, and thus ended the greatest rescue in human history, but the first chapter of a new alliance that would shape the fate of the galaxy.